If going to a church makes you a Christian, then hanging out in a garage makes you a car. Nowhere did Jesus ever say, "Thou shalt gather on Sunday morning for 1 hour and sing dirge type music and then listen to someone talk to you for a while." You want to go to church, that's great. I go to church. I love my church. I love my pastor. And they share good messages. I enjoy singing the songs. I enjoy the activity of a fantastic music program in our church. Love it. But that is not what being a person of faith is about. That's the thing I do on Sunday mornings that I enjoy, that I occasionally learn something from. Being a person of faith is about what you do the other 167 hours a week. If you go to church and you pray and you put some money in the plate and then you're an asshole all week long, that does not make you a good Christian or a good person. And it's not about being a Christian. Because if you study all the other religious texts, they all teach the same thing, that God is love, that it's about making the world better for other people, that you should not cast evil out of your mouth. Don't say things that hurt people. The things you do should make people's lives better, should bring joy to their lives, should make the world a better place. And just because you made money doesn't mean you made the world a better place. Now, oftentimes what happens is, so some of you may be doing evil in the world that's not from a place of greed. It's from a place of hurt people, right? So we often look at the greed, we look at the corporations and whatnot. Even there, often the people making those decisions aren't actually greedy. They are simply doing what they have to do in the position they're in. There's systems in places that are problematic, which are more complicated than just they're greedy, get the bad people. They're good people doing bad things because they're in a bad system, which is a whole different thing I'm not going to get into in this video. But what often happens is that we have demons. There's a reason they're called demons. Something bad has happened in our lives. Our brains have been trained to do the wrong thing because at a certain point in our life, the wrong thing was the thing we needed. And so we are reactive, we get angry, we get scared, fearful, paranoid, and we take that out on people. We're afraid to be poor, broke, hungry. We're afraid to be alone. We're afraid to be abandoned. And so that causes us to strike out. And if you're striking out and hurting people for whatever reason, that is bad. Now, this is what something like church is for, or whatever religious institution you go to on a regular basis, is to remind you what good is. So when you hear yourself doing the opposite, you say, ooh, you know what? There's a great line in the Bible where after David sends Bathsheba's husband off to war to get him killed so he can take his wife, which is a bad thing, God goes to, or a prophet goes to David and says, let me tell you a story about a really terrible person. And David's like, oh my goodness, that's a really terrible person. Really terrible things should happen to that really terrible person. And the prophet, I think it's Samuel, is like, you are that man. You were that man. And so occasionally you should hear that when you're hearing these stories, be like, oh shoot, am I doing that? That's what repent actually means. It's when you see yourself in the story of the bad guy and you repent, you turn around, which is what repent means. Repent comes from the Greek word metanoia, which means to transform your mind, not change your mind, transform your mind. So just going to church or just going to a religious service does not make you a person of faith. It makes you a person who goes to a religious service. There are people who don't go to any religious services who are absolutely what St. Paul calls people with the law written on their hearts. So it's not about where you go on Sunday morning or Friday evening or Saturday afternoon or whenever you do it. It's about what you do the rest of the week. There's a concept called never stop praying. Everything you do, when you create a video, when you sell a service, when you go to work, when you make breakfast, they are all to glorify God, which means they are all to bring God's kingdom of love into our earthly world. So that's what I want you to think about. Are you bringing love into the world with everything you do? Or are you giving lip service to it, spending an hour a week in some building, and then going about your way? Something to think about.